think I'm streaming. This might be. Let's see. Yeah, it's about the best I can do. How's it going, everybody? My buddy Paul is having a birthday. I don't have the money to get him anything, so I told him I'd draw him something. His favorite character is Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe. So I've been sketching something out here. And we'll see how it goes. Hey, Sigamigs, thanks for joining me. Just drawing the character Storm Shadow from G.I. Joe from my pal. How are you? Ghost Dog. Yeah, just doing a random live stream. Drawing something for a pal of mine, so I figured I might as well live stream it, right? This brush has seen better days. I really need to buy myself all new brushes, and I just haven't taken the time to do so. Whoops. Hey, Chrissy. Sigmig says his Thanksgiving break is about to start. That's nice. I'm taking a break as well. I'm going to I'm not going to make a new episode during the Thanksgiving break, but I do have stuff that's been Patreon exclusive, and I'll release one of those to the general public so that there's still something new to watch. It is a G.I. Joe character, Ghost Dog. My pal Paul is having a birthday, and he asked me to draw Storm Shadow. It is a Ninja J Rocks. Welcome to the stream. Yep. So just trying to figure out exactly how I want to draw this, and which tools I'm using. But thank you all for joining me. It's really nice. Once I've got the general sort of outline of everything done, I'll zoom the camera in for some of the detail. Hello, Shirley. Thanks for joining us. I'm gonna move some screens over here so that I can actually see what people in chat are saying. There we go. So nothing too special going on for me. Just, in fact, if anything, I'm actually a little tired, but I was in the mood to draw. So whenever I feel like drawing from now on, I'm gonna live stream it. I'm just placing a couple of arrows in the grass as though he's just sort of placed them down there for shooting them rapid fire. Those wily ninjas, always prepared. Always prepared, I tell you. Storm Shadow is badass. One of my fave, along with Alley Viper. Well, I once did an episode of Comic Tropes where I reviewed the Alley Viper. So Hopefully you've seen that episode. When I was a kid going to a summer camp, my favorite activity was definitely archery. I miss doing that. I always thought that was a really challenging skill. What do you think of the new Thor, if you've seen it yet, says Ghost Dog. Definitely the best of the Thor movies, if you ask me. Yeah, I agree. Thor Ragnarok was fantastic. I loved it. Definitely want to see that one again. Hello, TARDIS Rider. Yes, this is my version of Cupid. Since this one is, a gift for a friend's birthday instead of just me drawing for fun, I'm going to take my time on it. Uh, so I could be drawing for a while tonight. I won't be offended if the stream has gone on for a while and you're bored or you've got stuff to do and you need to take off. So just giving everybody a heads up. This is probably going to be a long one. So I really want to get the details right and make it look as good as possible. We'll see. That means I'm probably going to draw a good amount of background on this piece. It also means I might be drawing a little slower than usual. We'll see. Try to keep it all from getting too boring or slow. Ghost Dog says, I tried my hand at archery. I did a hunting camp, and everyone told me I suck and groaned every time it was my turn to arch. My archery dreams are crushed. I'm sorry. That sounds like a rude group of people you were with. I was really young when I was doing that. Like I say, I was in summer camp, so I really don't really even remember whether I was good or not. I can't remember. I just remember I found it a really cool challenge, and yeah, maybe I should see if there's like um, some place where you can do archery just like for the day if you don't own your own equipment. Maybe get like a little lesson and shoot at targets. There's got to be some place like that, right? I would think. There'd have to be. If you're going to draw and you need a ruler, I love these flexible stainless steel ones with the slightly raised cork. That way your ink doesn't bleed onto the page. If you don't have this raised cork, it tends to bleed all over the place. Maybe everybody already knows that, but if not, just a little tip. wow, cool. Let's see, Shirley took a semester of archery. Wow. Other than Scott Pilgrim, do you recommend any Oni press books? Oh, I've definitely read good stuff by Oni Sigamigs. Let me think. I want to say The Sixth Gun is by Oni. What else has Oni done? I'd have to look it up off the. Nothing's coming to me off the top of my head. It's been a little while since I looked at Oni. Oh, thanks for popping in, TARDIS Rider. Appreciate it. See ya. Ghost Dog says he holds no ill will, but he thought he was Clint Barton. That's Hawkeye. But probably anybody that's in this stream knows that, right? Everybody knows Hawkeye. Just trying to think of like where I sort of want to start and what pens I want to use. I don't want to mess this one up. I'm already not liking this hand, but we'll see. Hopefully it isn't too distracting. So we actually asked for a very specific version of Storm Shadow. Since this was based on a toy, Storm Shadow had several different costumes. It's a thing they did with popular figures in G.I. Joe. They'd re-release them with a new costume. And this is version 2. So I may take a couple minor liberties here and there, but overall I'm drawing a very specific costume. So wish me luck. Hello, Willy Guts. This is a G.I. Joe Ninja. This is Storm Shadow. And if you're watching this when it's archived, not a live stream, I apologize for being repetitive, but I'll probably mention this once or twice more as people join the stream. I think you understand. Yeah, it's coming together. Something cool happened today. I took Russian in high school. Didn't think I remembered much. Then today, I went into a brief, spontaneous conversation with a lady I had never met. Whoa! I've always heard that when you study a foreign language, about 70% of the vocabulary will stay with you, but that it's the things like tenses and prepositions and pronouns that you need to like sort of keep having conversations to remember and get fresh. That's what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. Sounds true. I need a better pen than this, and I don't have one. Frustrating. Oh well. I guess you got to work with the tools you have. It's a poor artist that blames the tools. Let me see what size this is. All right, this one's in pretty good shape. Do you know any languages, Chris? Not well, not well. I passed Spanish in college. That's supposed to make me conversational. Uh, I remember phrases and words, but I have a hard time. I'm not very good, I don't think, at Spanish. If people speak very slowly, I can make sense of it. So it's hard. Like if I watch a Spanish television station out of curiosity when I'm flipping through, I'll catch maybe every fourth or fifth word. So it's frustrating. I wish I had more aptitude there. I find it very difficult to change my thinking so that I can think in another language. I'd like to take Japanese because I've had some really good trips there, and I would really love to be able to have at least conversations with, like, restaurants and things like that. Uh, that would really be fun. That would really be cool. How about everybody out there? Like, what languages have you at least studied? If you speak more than one, let me know. But if you've at least studied another language, tell me what you've learned and what you like. Oh, hello, CSNG. You know some Mandarin. That sounds super useful. How do you survive in a place like Japan if you can't communicate? I'd be stressed. Well, I think you can honestly these days travel just about anywhere, and if you bring like some maps or just talk to the concierge at your hotel, you'll know where you're going and what you're doing. A lot of stuff is pretty universal. If you go into stores, you see numbers. As long as you know the exchange rate, it's not hard. And then this is privilege, but a lot of people do speak English. A lot of people speak English. Japan and, well, it wasn't a surprise Hong Kong because Hong Kong for a very long time was a British territory until the late 90s. They speak a lot of English there. In Japan, they speak a lot of English. You can talk in English, and it's privilege, but a lot of people at stores, the subway, etc., will know what you're talking about. And so yeah. Oh, you know some Tagalog. All right, that's cool, Sigamigs. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen you, CSNG. Thanks for dropping in. Guess I'm going a little slow. I'm a little tired. It's kind of late. I realize that. So something's going on with me where I'm extra tired these days, and I think it's depression because I'm looking for my next job. Um, I think I mean, I know I suffer from depression, but I think it's hitting me extra hard this time of the year with less sunlight and all. I'm very, very tired, exhausted really all the time. So it's hard. I do better when I'm in like a social situation or something because for some reason I'm able to psych myself up a bit and sort of be my normal self, be a little bit funny, be a little bit engaging. But yeah, it's a tough time of the year for me. I technically have something called seasonal affective disorder, which basically just means that without the well, with just a reduced amount of sunlight, I have a harder time than usual coping with my depression. But I'm not trying to like make anybody worry or bring anybody down. It's just sort of what I deal with this time of year. Tagalog. Somebody just texted me that's watching the stream and says that I said Tagalog and it's pronounced something more like Tagalog. I'm sorry. Didn't realize I was mispronouncing that. Let's see. Sigmig says, I live in a place where it's always hot and humid, so I actually love it when it's cold and gray. I don't mind it when I'm like up and about. I kind of think it feels nice, it looks normal, but I definitely suffer mentally. Thanks, Ghost Dog. It's not really a get well thing. It's just something I just sort of have to, unfortunately, always deal with and just be aware of. So I have to sort of, focus on eating right and exercising and socializing. Those things all sort of help counteract the feelings, but it's largely out of my control. It's serious business. Was about to speak about somebody else that I know that has this condition, but it's not really my place to speak about somebody else's issues. Anyway, I don't necessarily feel super sad right now all the time. It's just that I'm having a really hard time with my energy levels. All right, so I'm doing Storm Shadow's Arishikage tattoo. Mark, hello. Mike, hello. Look at that. A couple people joining me. Thank you. Oh, we've actually got a dozen folks in chat. That's a good amount for me. All right, I'm going to actually zoom the camera in because I'm about to work on some fine detail, and I don't think you'll be able to see it unless I zoom in. So if I move out of frame, give me a heads up. Tagalog. Tagalog. Am I saying that right now? Not Tagalog, Tagalog. I have the hardest time unless I hear somebody else say something. All right, so I'm... Shirley's asking everybody if what they might have for Thanksgiving plans. Good question. Anybody hosting? Anybody traveling for Thanksgiving? Doing anything interesting there? I always like hearing what folks are doing for the holidays. All right, see you, Ghost Dog. Thanks for dropping in. Do you still have that Alpha Flight #1 that you did the tropes on? Mark asks. Probably. I'm pretty sure I still have that issue. Yeah. Um, I don't have a system right now for keeping like all my comic trope stuff in one place. It sort of ends up in a couple piles in my work area. Football and turkeys is Mark's plan for the holidays. I think that's a pretty good one. I think that's a great one. Stuffing. The most important part of Thanksgiving is stuffing, says Mike. I did not appreciate stuffing enough when I was younger. I have come around. I agree. Stuffing it can be pretty great. It can be pretty great. I guess it depends on how it's prepared, and everybody sort of has their own favorite for stuff like that. Um, yeah, come around to really liking stuffing. All right, I gotta think this through here. We got. Oh. I'm drawing bands of rope across his torso, so I need to think this through as to how I'm going to make it look right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, back to the thing. Let's see. What are the foods you usually prepare for Thanksgiving? That's an interesting one from Sigmix, and I'm curious what everybody else does too. For me, turkey stuffing, mashed potatoes, green beans. I am a big fan of mincemeat pie. A lot of people, I guess, do not know or care about that one. I love it. That's my favorite pie. So that's a biggie for me for the holidays. Um, we usually have a pumpkin pie. Not too much a fan of that. Sometimes sweet potatoes, things like that. So kind of the standards, I guess. Your sketches always look very clean. Do you always keep it tight like that, or is it just the final product that we see? Says Mike. Um, Closer to the latter. I usually sketch it out, then light box it to get a cleaner sketch, and then I ink that. Maybe sometime I'll just draw from scratch. Although I think one of my live streams I started doing that just to show everybody. But maybe I'll do the whole process sometime. Green bean casserole with the fried onions on top. So good. Yeah, that can be really good, actually. I agree. That's not a standard for my family, but it can be really good. All right, let's see here. There, sorry. Didn't have it perfectly centered. I know this looks a little confusing right now, but bear with me. We'll get there. I've been hearing really good things about the Runaways adaptation on Hulu, the Marvel Comics version of Hulu of Runaways is supposed to be pretty darn good. I did do a review of Runaways this week, but it's an exclusive to my patrons on Patreon, and for everybody else, I released a review about Punisher because his show debuted on whatchamacallit, Netflix. I know this isn't looking too good right now, but bear with me. We're gonna get there. Although I guess if it doesn't look good now, that isn't great, but we'll see. All right. Karen says, no Thanksgiving in Mexico. I attended a Thanksgiving dinner as a guest once, but I was too young to remember. We eat Filipino food, says Sigamig. Sometimes we get turkey. Willie Gut says, I like turkey and gravy, but we're having a small ham. Just me and my wife this year. I've done hams too, and it's like a small group. I've done the same thing. Who prefers stuffing from inside the turkey as opposed to a side dish? Not me. Not me. My dad always prepared it inside the turkey, and for me, too wet, too moist. Did not care for that. So, just for the record. I think I hear my fiance laughing outside the door. Anyone remember what Ross would make? He would make the moist maker. It's an old school Friends joke. All right, questions. Inside is the way to do it, Mike says for stuffing. Nope, and Shirley agrees. No, that's not the way I like it. All right, Mark says, do you mean to say that minstrels were portrayed by non-whites in your Punisher tropes? No. I would say that, well, they were both whites and blacks played minstrels, but what I was talking about was the art of blackface, which mainly involved white people putting on black makeup and doing minstrelry. It was a very specific type of performance. everybody's excited about, talking about the right way to do stuffing, which is apparently not the way I like it. I'm the odd man out, even on my own channel. Maybe I'll try to zoom in even more, see if this can be more clear. Sigamig says, you ever had deep fried turkey? I have once. It was fantastic. I really liked it. I got to do that again someday. Deep fried turkey is great. And then I also have once had turducken, which was a chicken inside a duck inside a turkey. It was really tasty, I thought. It was quite nice. I saw a thing on the Food Network a few years back about how cooking stuffing inside the turkey is actually quite dangerous because the juices of the turkey that go into the stuffing can't easily get hot enough to cook properly. I saw that same thing, Mike. I try to say it to my family, and they don't believe me. When the internet was new, it ruined Thanksgiving for us because my mom would go crazy making 12 different side dishes she printed out. Whoa! That's a lot. That is quite the undertaking. I'm currently working on a food-related comic tropes episode. Now that I think of it, it's probably required like the longest term planning and the most collaboration by far out of anything I've ever done. I've been working on this one since September. Yeah, it'll be out in December. Ooh, is it? It's got a lot of working parts to it, but it's food related and exercise related. So I thought it would work well for the holidays when everybody's eating a bunch. Whoa, where'd you find that?
Like on the table under, it was on the table under all those envelopes you just bought.
It was?
Yeah.
I have been looking for my Nintendo Switch for a little over a month, and apparently it was basically just on the table behind the computer that I do all the editing for Comic Tropes. Apparently it was in full plain sight this whole time. Oh my gosh, that is such a relief. I can't believe I have been knocking myself out, tearing apart my car, my fiance's car. I was just at my in-laws. I was at Shirley's place, and I was like looking everywhere for it. It was simply on the table right next to where I edit Comic Tropes. I am dumb. Oh my gosh, that's such a relief. Well, maybe now I can try that Mario game everybody's been talking about. And you blamed your poor mother-in-law for... I never blamed her at all! Oh my gosh, guys. I've been looking for this thing for so long. I was like really afraid that I'd like completely lost it. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm gonna zoom back out. Yes, Karen, I would love to try the Mario Odyssey. And now I finally can, now that I've got my... You know what? It's been a month. I wonder if it still has a charge. It does! That's impressive. Oh, wait. It's blinking like that. No, it had just enough to tell me it didn't have a charge. I did make her search for it like a wild savage. Yeah, I'm pretty mean. I was just so awful. I can't believe my family can forgive me. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. I'm so happy right now. That's such a relief. Oh. I'm happy. Yeah. Just in time for Black Friday. I don't deal with Black Friday. Does anybody else like go out there and brave the savage hordes for deals? Chrissy and I have done it like twice, I think. One year because I was dropping my dad off at the airport really early on that day, Black Friday. So Chrissy was with me, and we decided we'd drop my dad off at the airport, and since we were there, like getting the lines to go to some of the places that had doorbusters. It was interesting to do once, but it was pretty crazy. I forget we did it again like a couple years later. It's been a few years since we've done it now. Um, we must have been looking for a very specific appliance or something like that as a gift. I just it is brutal. It is brutal. Yes, Shirley, I'm very thankful for this. Karen says that this happens to her with money, her prescription eyeglasses, her Nook. Okay, Chrissy has the whole story. She says, I just saw it on the table and thought, oh, he found it. Wait, why didn't he tell me he found it? Then I was like, maybe he doesn't know he found it. Yep, that's pretty much it. Oh, I see what you're saying, Sigamigs. Yeah. I feel like these days Amazon or something tries to match all those prices though, for things like games, and a lot of stores seem to want to like avoid the total craziness, so they like have their deals like all week long. You know what I need to look into is when in comics did it become commonplace to draw seams on everybody's costume? Because I just realized I'm doing it on Storm Shadow, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, when did that sort of become the default. Because costumes used to be a lot simpler. I wonder. When I first got contacts, I used to search for my glasses while I was wearing them, and I often remove a non-existent hat before scratching my head. That's from Mike. Yeah, that sounds frighteningly familiar. I think we've all been there. Mike says I first noticed, and he's talking about seams on costumes on Captain America and the Ultimates. You know, I agree. I wonder if it might have been Brian Hitch to really usher in that look. It might be a DC thing because I feel like Jim Lee really like leapt on that and started drawing, Superman and Batman with all sorts of seams and costume details that we used to never get. And I mean, I understand why they look that way on the Hollywood version of a costume. It's a real suit, and the seams look good when they're real. But it's also it's a little strange how comics have adapted that for print because I feel that comics the characters benefit from being a little simplified compared to the world around them. Um, Realistic backgrounds, somewhat simplified characters, and that allows us to sort of project ourselves onto them slightly. I need a thicker brush. Early 90s comics had a lot of detail in scenes. Well, they had a lot of detail. I don't necessarily feel like in the 90s they were quite doing like the seams on costumes in the 90s. I mean, some may have been, but I feel like it was a thing that really took off in the early 2000s. Right? Yeah. It does make sense and it makes it way cooler, giving it weight, depth, like something that grounds it in the real world, something mundane like zippers. That's from Karen G. Yeah, I do like some of it. I really do. But I definitely think it probably also slows down the artists compared to what they used to be obligated to draw. Oh well. I kind of miss the old days without all the hyper realistic detail. I like a variety of art styles. Here's what I liked about we'll go back as far as 70s and 80s comic books. There wasn't as much detail placed on the costumes, but I think it freed the artist up to have a much more energetic and fluid approach to motion. I feel like there was real motion conveyed in the panels, and nowadays it's more like a snapshot in time. And I miss some of that energy, that looseness. That I think that comics used to be a little closer to animation and being a little more fluid and showing more expression. And now they're a little closer to film, live action film, but we're just taking like snapshots There's an epicness to the whole scene, but it's individual moments instead of a flow of a story, if that makes sense. Do you prefer cartoony or realistic art style or something mixed? I probably prefer something mixed. You know, like I'll look at somebody like Jeff Smith. His characters are a little simple, but his backgrounds are quite realistic. And I love the energy and the storytelling there. I also think that both Ramitas are very good at, a fairly simple character, but like pretty good backgrounds. But that said, I do like Brian Hitch. I own an original page of art by him, and it's very detailed throughout the character, the background, everything. I think it just takes you a moment to pull the foreground, middle ground, and background apart because it's all kind of equally detailed. All right, back to art. Has anybody been watching the new Punisher show on Netflix? Punisher used to be, when I was reading comics, like close to the most popular character, bar none. It was Punisher, Wolverine, and Spider-Man for Marvel. At DC, it's always been kind of Batman and Superman. But I feel like Punisher isn't really as popular as he used to be. In the 80s and 90s, he was king. And I'm fine with things changing and moving on, but yeah, it's an interesting time to sort of be developing a Punisher TV show. That said, it's pretty good. It's a lot different than most of the comics, but at the same time, it's definitely loyal to certain stories. There's characters that are right out of the comics, ones that have only appeared once or twice, but that's the nature of Punisher. I can't believe my Switch was in plain sight this whole time. Well, actually, I guess I can. I stopped reading him when they turned him white. That's a good one, Mark. They did do that in a sense. It depends on where you jumped on. What's up with the Punisher logo with the blue stripe? Do police just want to kill criminals? Yeah, I've seen that logo that you're talking about, Sigamigs, and that is disturbing to me. Like when police have a Punisher logo. I'm like, the Punisher is a vigilante that kills criminals. I do not want to see police being like, oh, I love Punisher. That makes me nervous. That makes me nervous. All right, good night, Mike. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. What do you suppose he's getting up early for? Work? I bet it's work. I bet it's work. What to work on in this piece? Maybe a little bit of musculature. You guys are funny. I like having these just to listen to the stuff you guys joke about. So I'm starting to plan comic tropes episodes for 2018. I mean, I've got a few planned, and I've got lots of ideas. But if you've got a topic or a creator you think I should cover, go ahead and shout it out, and I'll add it to the list. Can't promise when I'll get to anything, but I'm always happy to listen to suggestions, see what people are most interested in hearing about. I hope you understand that I do a mix of kind of serious and funny. I'd like, I don't know, I got to keep myself interested because it's not like if I was getting like paid because everybody always wanted to only see funny stuff or something, I'd be happy to do it. But it's not like I really make any money. In fact, I lose money. So I gotta balance it with doing what interests me, just to sort of keep going. But anyway, if you've got suggestions, please drop them in anytime. I'm always listening. I do want to produce a show that people want to see. Saga and Fables. Those are both great titles that I really enjoy, Sigamigs, so I'll give that some serious consideration. And at some point, I will release to everybody, not just my patrons, this Runaways episode that I just made, because I do discuss Brian K. Vaughan in that. I'm a big fan of Brian K. Vaughan. I feel like he's a really, really great writer. So, yeah. But I like those suggestions. Thanks. Uh, I also worry that I have a tendency to do too much Marvel, just because I guess I just, one thing I've learned from this about myself is I know more about Marvel than DC. I feel like I do know a lot of DC that I haven't really addressed, but the Marvel stuff is just really ingrained in my brain. I guess guess I was a bit more of a Marvel guy growing up, and I didn't really realize that. I always thought I was fairly equal to both companies. Maybe I read just as much from both, but I must have liked the Marvel stuff more or something, because it's in my head a little bit more. Who knows? See you, Shirley. See you Thursday at least, if not sooner. Looking forward to it. Mad Magazine. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Okay, Mark has some ideas. Mad Magazine, Kurt Swan, Shazam, Herb Trimp. Those are some really cool suggestions. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Kurt Swan briefly in last week's episode, the Superman Radio Shack comic, because the art was by Kurt Swan. But yeah, maybe I could at some point look at a piece of his in his prime. Geez, there's a lot of different ways I could go there, because there's some of that really goofy Silver Age stuff that he worked on, but then there's stuff like written by guys like Alan Moore that he did. That's just like, some of the best Superman, period. So that's definitely something I'll give some serious thought to. Mad Magazine, that's a lot of comic book history there to potentially look at. That's a really good suggestion. And Shazam, I'll honestly probably like wait until like that movie is about to come out, and then I'll probably like do an episode then, just to sort of try to get some new subscribers. I hope that stuff doesn't necessarily come across as clickbaity per se, but I do obviously try to um, cover certain topics when there's like a TV show or movie coming out. Um, it's not like I'm doing like, oh, here's the Easter eggs that you'll find, or this is the comparison. I could do those very easily. Instead, I'm just trying to say like, hey, you want to learn about like the comic book that it comes from, and maybe I can get a few new viewers that way, or maybe somebody that would be interested no matter what is just happens to use those search terms. So that is something that I do. Um, uh, because there's so many things in comics that I love talking about that it's easy to just say, all right, well, I'll just wait on Shazam until that movie comes out. But Mad Magazine, it would be interesting to talk about the history of EC Comics and guys like Kurtzman, Gaines. That would definitely be really interesting. I like that suggestion. These are good. Saga is definitely like one of my current favorite comics, so I would love to talk about that. And I try to be upfront if I like something. I'm like, okay, this is something I like. Here's why I like it. Because I think a critic is allowed to like things. They just have to be upfront and not like, oh, surprise, I like it. Uh, anyway. I'm not really into DC or Marvel, so your vids are a good way to get some knowledge. Yeah, and I try also to mix in stuff from Europe, Japan, here and there, like various indies. I've got an episode for the very end of the year where I'm going to talk about indies in the 80s, indie comics in the 80s, because that's when I really got into comics and part of what helped me get into comics. So that's going to be a sort of atypical type of episode than what I usually produce, because I'm actually going to sort of make it a little bit more like a mini documentary and showcase like where I found these comics growing up. I'm going to go back to my childhood, like first comic book store, and talk about that. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a little different and a little interesting. Mad had so many tropes from artist to artist. It did. Sometimes I give myself a slight pass and say like I'm just going to talk about the history of something. Mad would probably have to be more like that, like just sort of it would involve some tropes, but it would also involve just a lot of studying or explaining maybe the history of the magazine, like where it came from, what it was in response to, you know, who these people were that formed something that still exists today. Where is my big thick brush? Karen says, I read Korean web comics. The format is interesting. Infinite vertical canvas. Yes, I have seen a couple of those. I love that format idea. If you're going to do a web comic, I don't almost see the point in going to another page, left, right, right, left. Just go down. It's brilliant. I think that's like the perfect way to do almost any web comic. If they announced a Sergeant Spook movie tomorrow and you have the only vid out there If you overnight got 1,000,000 views, would it be jackpot? If I got 1,000,000 views on anything, I guess it would be jackpot. Yeah. uh, so far, that's never happened. There's never really been a video in my archive that has all of a sudden been discovered and gotten huge views. The stuff that gets big views is pretty consistent. It's for Rob Liefeld, John Byrne, like the big name creators. It was popular from like the moment I uploaded it, and it continues to be popular. Um, yeah, I've never really had anybody, like link to my site on a popular blog or Reddit or something like that. So just sort of toiling away in relative obscurity, but it gives me something to work on, and that's nice. It'd be fun to probably to get a video that became a big hit, because why wouldn't it be, I guess? I don't know what the magic formula is for getting a really popular video, because I've learned that there are a lot of comic channels out there that get like at least tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of views for everything they put up within like, a week or two. So obviously my channel is pretty small potatoes compared to any of that. It's not even in the same league. But I watch it and I'm like, well, it's not like the production values are necessarily like leagues above mine, or certainly the topics aren't. I don't know. Maybe it's the host. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the weak link in that equation. I don't know. Uh, but nothing I can do about that one, so I'm not gonna stress about it. If I watch it over, do you get another view? Yeah, I do. Um, YouTube counts every view, whether it's by the. That's why some children's channels are incredibly popular, because children will just watch it over and over and over. Um, that all counts. I mean, advertisers don't necessarily pay as much for a kid's video as they would for something that's getting like an adult spender, but if it's getting millions of views, they'll buy ad space there. They know that mom and dad are going to see it at some point. So yeah, every view counts. Um, it counts more if somebody watches it all the way through, and of course, if they actually watch one of the ads, that helps. But I don't care too much if you guys are skipping those or what. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to make a living off of this stuff. It's nice. I'm not going to discourage you from it, but yeah. It sucks you don't have the subscribers you deserve, but it's cool having this much intimacy with an awesome creator. Oh, well, that's really nice of you to say. Thank you. I like talking to all of you guys too. So, win-win, right? If my channel becomes more popular, I'll always make an effort to respond to comments and do live streams, etc., so that I can talk to people. It's the least I can do. Um, and plus, even if we have different opinions on certain things, there's a great chance we agree on a lot of stuff too. Because if you're watching my channel, then you probably feel somewhat similar about comics to how I feel. I just think it's a great medium. I think it's one of the most versatile mediums out there. think you can tell almost any kind of story you'd want with it. Hello, Melissa Morg. I think this channel is awesome. Well, that's really nice of you to say. There are many channels with great content that deserve more views. This is from Slime Beharit. Some channels just know how to create drama for views. I suppose that's true. That's fine, you know. Maybe that's what they're about. It's what some people like. Probably not gonna be what my channel's about. I could badmouth people or get like deep into politics and stuff. I mean, I've got strong opinions on a lot of things. I'm not going to hide them per se, but it's not really what the goal of my channel is. My goal is just to talk about a wide variety of comic books and how they work, more or less. Hope that makes sense. There's a lot of interesting history to comics and its creators. Do you put tags on your videos, or does it grab them from the title and description? I put tags in them. I put a good amount of tags. I've always worked in marketing. I've done a lot of social media marketing, so I do know the stuff you're supposed to do. I just don't have the time to do all of it. Like, I should probably be doing a lot more, stuff on Instagram and Twitter and even Facebook. Like have like a calendar of like this content goes out on this channel at this time every day to engage people. I should be doing more of that. I don't have the time to do that. So there could be a little bit more that I could get from organic search if I used social media a little bit more than I do. But I don't not use it. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I just don't always have the time. You are probably doomed to a small audience. You don't say mean stuff. Maybe so. Some people think I do. Some people do think I say quite mean stuff. There are people that like are mad about what I've said about like Rob Liefeld or Liefeld, excuse me. But I feel like I'm pretty fair in that video. Like I talk about how I was a huge fan as a kid, and there's just stuff that I noticed that I can't not notice now. But some people think it's like really mean. They're like, "Oh, you just jealous. You're just making fun of him because he's successful." I'm like, no, I have friends that are far more successful than him. I'm not jealous of him. I get nearly all my channel traffic from Twitter, says Melissa. Yeah, and I've never bothered to even create a comic tropes or Skunkape, whatever you want to call it, like specific Twitter. I just have my personal one up there. So I know I could be doing more to have a bigger channel, but you have to balance that against what you can reasonably accomplish in a certain day. And I'd rather just spend my time creating additional content. When I have like extra time, that just means I create an extra episode for my patrons on Patreon, or I do a fun side project like creating those reviews of Transformers cartoons from Japan. So I could be spending that time to promote what's already existing on my channel, but instead I just prefer to just create more content because that's more fun for me. I hope that makes sense. I would love to have a bigger audience, but there are trade-offs. Like you guys were saying just a minute ago, I might not be able to have such conversations like these with each of you and really like answer everybody. I'm going to be doing a lot more of those, Melissa. There are a lot more Japanese Transformer reviews. I wrote reviews for all 3 seasons already. I just haven't recorded them all and screen capped them all, but I've written them all. So there's a ton of stuff that I can release there when I have free time. Let's see. Bren Ross Film Productions says, seeing that you watch Red Letter Media, what's your favorite Plinkett review? Okay, so when he says Plinkett review, he's talking about like how Mr. Plinkett reviews all the various movies. Well, I mean, obviously the very first prequel review that he did was definitely very clever and sort of like, you know, got them noticed. So that one's really good. I especially like in that how Plinkett asks people to define Qui-Gon Jinn's personality without describing his physical appearance. And people are just stumped. That's a great moment. That's a really insightful bit of criticism. But I also really like his review of Star Trek Generations. I think that's a pretty funny one. I really like that one. Sigamig says, all I need to do to become more popular is add the word angry to my username. Instant success. I bet that would work. Yeah, I'm the angry comic tropes guy. All these cliches. It's a cockload of fucking duty poop. That said, I actually really like Angry Video Game Nerd. I've been watching him since pretty much day one. I like his reviews. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. There's not a lot of YouTube guys that I follow, to be honest. It's a pretty small handful. I watch a lot of news, and then like look up lots of tutorials, like how-to type things on YouTube. So I watch a lot of YouTube, but I don't watch a lot of reviewers. I like Red Letter Media. I do like Angry Video Game Nerd. I can't off the top of my head think of another that I watch regularly. I know that there's tons out there, but I can't think of one that I watch regularly. But I'm always also looking for recommendations, so if you think that I'm sleeping on somebody or neglecting them, speak up. All right, let's see. I'm giving a little bit of thought to like doing a watercolor ink wash on Storm Shadow for his sort of like patterns. Have I seen the AVGN Polybius episode? I have, and I've been aware for a long time of that, what would you call it, urban legend of that game existing. So I love that he covered it, and I think he made a very entertaining little movie out of it. I thought that was quite creative, actually. That was one of my favorites that he's done in quite a while. How about you all out there? Has anybody got a favorite YouTube channel that they like, one that you subscribe to that you don't miss? Could be about anything. I'm always curious what anybody likes and why. Hey, has anybody watched Kirkman's new show about like comic book history? I haven't had time to watch much TV, so I haven't caught it yet. I'm way behind on all the TV shows that I usually watch. But I heard his new show has come out, and I was kind of curious about it, especially since it, to a degree, it kind of covers some of the same ideas what I do with my YouTube show, but I don't have a production company. And I haven't talked to him about it. I thought it made sense to actually keep some separation in case it was close to what I do. But I am curious about it. I will watch it. I watched the first two episodes. I like how they ripped on Stan Lee. Did they really? Did they really? Okay, well, that's interesting. Melissa Morg says, my channel's fun. I fight with misogynist trolls and dissect how silly their arguments are. That could definitely be fun, sure. And Mark Berner says that Kirkman did a good one tonight about Siegel and Schuster. Yeah, that stuff definitely always interests me. Um, Maybe I should make sure that I watch it so that I don't like cover the same material like too soon. Um, I don't want to. I don't want people accusing me of like biting somebody else's show idea. Ugh, that would be frustrating to hear. Like I was researching and putting together a Bill Finger episode almost from day one of creating this channel, and then I realized that there was a documentary about it that was about to come out on Hulu. So I sort of tabled that idea for a while. It's definitely something I still want to talk about, but I don't want to sort of be accused of ripping off something that already exists. I always watch, these are channel recommendations from CSNG, Electro Boom and Tear Zoo. I've never heard of either of those. Electro Boom and Tear Zoo. Huh, okay. Sigamig says about Kirkman's show, the first episode was mostly about how the more unknown partner, Kirby, did most of the work. Hmm. Hmm. I'd be curious to hear their take on things. Off the top of my head, would say I do think that in the Lee Kirby partnership, Kirby probably did do most of the work. That's always been my suspicion. I don't think that Lee did nothing, and I think that Lee might have done more in his other collaborations. But Kirby was a powerful creative force, and I think he basically just took the ball and ran with it for a long time, and then just sort of got frustrated that Stan wasn't giving him his due, which I can completely understand. But he did come back to Marvel, you know. Um, I don't know. It's always something that I think about actually is how much did how much did Stan Lee actually do at Marvel? I don't think he did nothing. He worked on too many titles for him to have done nothing. Did he hog too much credit? Yeah, I would say that that's very likely. Did he do nothing? I don't think he did nothing. What do you think of the Incredibles 2 sneak peek? looks fun. Incredibles was one of the best superhero movies out there. Brad Bird did something really, really amazing. And if he's at the helm, I'll definitely give it a try. Um, I also thought that his what do you call it? Mission Impossible movie was my personal favorite in that series by far, by far. But I didn't care for Tomorrowland with George Clooney. I didn't think eh, that didn't resonate with me at all. In fact, I don't think I finished it now that I'm thinking of it. Slime Bear, it says, for modern weekly comics reviews, I watch Alter Ego Comics and Detail Comics, but my favorite is in podcast form, the Serious Issue podcast. Yeah, I don't exactly get into that, like reviewing weekly comics. That sounds like honestly a lot of work to come up with sort of quick decisions on, is this good or not? Um, you have to be pretty confident in your opinions. That's a lot of work. I've got a lot of respect for that. It sucks that the sequel picks up where the first ended. I wish the characters would grow with the audience, says Sigamix. Yeah, I can see that and that's a valid point, but they probably have a good idea for a story in this setting. That's probably why no time has passed. And that's something you can do with animation that you really can't do in live action because actors age. So I kind of like that that's something that they're doing. And yeah, could be cool. Um, Melissa says, been meaning to ask, do you know of any other channels like this one where people are doing similar things? Do you mean my channel, Melissa? People that do similar things to what I do? Let me know if that's what you're talking about, and then I'll answer. Let's see. Lee deserves credit for being the face of Marvel Comics. That's work too. Well, he does. I mean, yeah, that's why he's an emeritus publisher because he definitely was the hype man for Marvel for a long, long time, and in some ways still is. I mean, he does still do cameos in Marvel movies, so there's there's not really anybody like that in DC's history or just in comics in general that's a hype man like Stan Lee was. So he deserves credit for that. But yeah, people have questions about his writing. I love Norm Macdonald Live. Mark Barner says for YouTube channels. Me too. Norm is one of my favorite comedians. I got to open for him once back when I was in college. That's awesome. And I also think he's actually a pretty good interviewer. I think he's surprisingly good. So that's a great recommendation. I watched that one too. Thank you. Melissa says, does anybody else do what I do? I intentionally do not watch channels that are similar to mine. So I have never gone out searching for things like mine. I, of course, have been told that there are channels similar to what I do. And then I basically go, okay, I'm aware that those exist. When they come up, like they'll come up sometimes in recommendations when I'm watching YouTube. I don't watch them because I want to make sure that I'm not stealing a joke or even an idea for like reviewing the same comic because we all are going to review some of the same comics. There's probably no way around it. But I don't want to like do it the same week or anything weird like that. At least not intentionally. So people have told me that similar shows are like Linkara. I think that's how it's pronounced, Linkara. And then oh, what's the other one? There's some others. There's one called Comic Book Girl. although I think she might do more reviews of current comics. I'm not 100% clear on that, whether she does funny reviews of old stuff or just modern things. I'm not 100% clear. But people have told me that that one's sort of similar. What else is supposed to be similar to mine? Oh, I think that there are one or two others. I could be like getting this channel's name wrong, but I want to say Comics Explained. That's about all I can remember right now. Plenty of people like tell me like, oh, this is like yours, or I see recommendations, but yeah, I don't know. I wonder if any of the voices will sound a bit different after all this time. Mr. Incredible sounds the exact same, says CSNG. Probably not. Probably will sound pretty similar because even like like the kids were basically voiced by actual adult voice act. Oh, what was Sarah? That did the older daughter. She was an adult. I don't remember who did like Dash, whether that was an adult or not. But everybody else in the cast is basically an adult, and their voice should be about the same. Okay, let's see. Karen says, I've heard of that Linkara guy, but was never into it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Dash will be replaced. Oh, well, that's what professional voice actors are for. They can make a voice sound how it needs to sound. Linkara is more like comic book nostalgia critic. You're more unique in how you make your stuff, if you ask me. Okay, well, cool. I'm glad you like the show. Like I say, I've intentionally avoided these channels, so I don't have a strong opinion on them or how they approach things. I don't know. Maybe someday I will give these other channels a listen. Maybe that's smart actually to hear how. I don't know if it probably isn't fair to call it competition because I'm pretty sure every other channel about comics is way more popular than mine. But maybe it makes sense to see why at some point. I don't know. We'll see. I've got a cat that's just crept into the art room. How'd you push the door open? I thought I closed it. Slime Beharit says, Comics Explained has 1.1 million viewers, but I feel like many people just watch that channel as an alternative to actually buying comics. 1.1 million. Oh, he corrects himself. 1.1 million subscribers. I mean, not even close to that. They probably make every day how many total subscribers I have. So I guess they're doing something right. Wow. 1.1 million subscribers. That is something. Now I'm actually really curious about that channel. Karen says, I like the way you talk in your analysis. I think I'm subscribed to that Comics Explained guy. Well, thanks, Karen. All I can do is do what I do. A little off the cuff, a little prepared. So I don't know how I'd describe my style, but I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm very grateful to all of you for watching, really am. Makes it feel like I'm not just shouting into an empty hole in the ground. Oh. Probably been drawing longer than usual, so thank you for all staying with me. Okay, Chrissy has told me that one of my cats has eaten, so I shouldn't fall for him meowing. I won't. Which film do you prefer, Batman 1989 or Batman Returns 1992? Batman 1989 between those two, definitely. I think it's the more focused of the two narratively. Um, and there's some great performances in there. I always get a kick out of Christopher Walken, but yeah, Jack Nicholson is a little more engaging if I have to choose between the two. Batman's maybe a little more psychopathic in Returns. I mean, it just starts out and he's like strapping bombs to people and burning them alive and stuff. That was always weird to me in the Tim Burton movies. How many people Batman kills? Kills a lot of people. I'm gonna do something here. How about yourself, Bren Ross Film Productions? Which do you prefer between the two? Same movies that you just asked me. Which do you prefer and why? I've always wondered why '89 wasn't nominated for Best Original Score. Oh, never thought about that. I guess I didn't realize that it wasn't. I agree. That's a very iconic score. In fact, I was just watching, a few days ago, the new Justice League movie, and there are moments in it where you can very subtly hear the original, the '89 Batman score, as well as the '75 Superman score. Each of them are just, but you know what? For me, it's too faint. I say, just go for it. Use those themes. Why do we need a new theme, even if you've rebooted a superhero story? Like, the theme is fantastic. I say stick with it. It works. It's beautiful. It pumps people up. I don't think it takes them out of the movie. I think it excites people. I'm all for keeping those themes. Batman '89 is easily better. It feels like it's on a larger scale than Batman Returns, and it's also just the primary example of the fun blockbuster they used to make. Yeah, I can see that. I can tell you that, as a kid, when it came out, I was way into it. I was glad that I was reading Batman comics at that point in time, and everywhere you went, there was Batman T-shirts and stuff that year. Oh, so many Batman T-shirts at that point in time. Everybody had one. Even the jocks like would have like a Batman T-shirt. It was unlike how popular blockbusters are today. Like that thing was a massive hype machine before it ever even came out. Like everybody knew about it. That was the movie that summer of '89. All right, some questions. Do you think we'll get a light-hearted Batman flick? Well, Slime Bear response to you, Sigmig, says Lego Batman already exists. I think that counts. That is a Batman movie, and it's a lighthearted one. So, yeah, we have, and I think we will again at some point. It works. Batman is a very versatile character. You can tell sci-fi stories with him, horror stories, mystery stories, traditional superhero or sci-fi, or did I already say sci-fi? You can tell so many types of stories, including humorous ones. I mean, the 60s TV show more than proved that. So, yeah, I think that it'll happen again. I don't think it'll happen anytime soon aside from the Lego Batman one, but I think that counts. That's a Batman movie, and it was funny. Sigmund says live action. It'll happen. I don't know when. It'll happen though. Some people say that the current Gotham show is kind of funny because it's just so batshit crazy. So you could argue that they are sort of doing a version of that. Hey, software agents or AT. Nice to see you. I'm getting close to finished on this. No, you know what? Maybe I'm not. I'm gonna block in some dark foliage back here. Batman might just be the most versatile superhero ever. He really might be. I don't know why it is that Batman can work so well in so many different genres, but he can. I don't think you can tell quite as many types of stories with characters that I like even more. Like, for instance, I like Spider-Man more as a character, but I don't think he's quite as versatile. I don't think Spider-Man works quite as well when you're trying to tell horror stories. I don't know. Maybe it's because Batman is still a human being, and not like a science experiment gone amok or an alien or something like that. Like maybe it's because I'm just speculating. Oh, can't see what I'm drawing. Let's see, maybe if I be interesting to really think about, like, why does Batman seem to work in so many different types of genres compared to most other superheroes? Or, I mean, people may disagree with me, but I really think that Batman is more flexible than most superheroes. Do you think that Temple of Doom is good or bad? I think it's good, not great. I think it's a very enjoyable movie in some ways. I think it has its problems, and it could have been a little better, but I think it's totally entertaining. I think it's a good movie. Hey, cat, get over here. Gotta go test tomorrow, and it's almost midnight where I'm at. Oh, thanks for staying so long, Bren Ross. Appreciate it. Good luck with your test. Hope it goes well. Mark says Temple of Doom is no Crystal Skull. Nope, it isn't. There are parts of Crystal Skull that I enjoy a lot, which actually makes the movie more frustrating to me because I'm like, you probably still could have made like a really, really good movie, and you didn't. I liked seeing Marion again. I liked a number of the action scenes, but it's not a good movie. I even like Kate Blanchett now that I think of it. She was pretty good. That was a good idea for a villain. Oh well, it didn't work. Well, in order to make this what my friend asked for, I need to draw in some sort of weird camo patches, and I'm too nervous to just directly ink it, so I'm going to figure it out. Actually, you know what? I need to look up reference to see exactly what the costume looked like here. Storm Shadow version 2. And okay, so he just sort of has Yeah. Wow. All right. He has weird camo. Crystal Skull felt like a character of Indiana Jones movies. I wish they could have let it go after Last Crusade. Yep, I agree. I like knowing that I can survive an atomic bomb by climbing into my refrigerator. I believe that climbing into a refrigerator might protect you from the radiation, but not being thrown into the sky and crashing down violently. Like, why'd they have to have him get thrown? Like, couldn't he have just. I thought it was like starting to be clever having him actually climb into the refrigerator, but not when he got like thrown across the sky like 20 miles. Ugh. Oh well. What can we do? We didn't make it. I can stomach the aliens, but not that bullshit. That's from AT. Hello, Hollow Nano. Sorry, I could catch your streams lately. I've been really caught up in school. Well, school's important. I'd much rather have people studying hard at school than getting distracted with my streams. So, no worries there. The CGI gophers and monkeys looked stupid too. You would think that they would have worked a lot harder on those being a George Lucas movie, right? At least the monkeys. Like the gophers were bad, but actually that's how could they have not like done just an effect with an actual gopher for that? That was weird. There's a lot of weird decisions in that movie, aren't there? I must say, Chris, that your multitasking ability is amazing. I couldn't talk and draw like this. You know what that might come from? I at one point when I was in college went to bartending school just in case, like my degree wasn't paying off. I figured I could always do some bartending right out of college. Um, and I my instructor said that I developed like a really good ability to hold conversations with people while I was mixing all these drinks. So I think it like came from like that time in my life. I was just sort of practicing uh, both like working on something that required a lot of steps and um, having conversations with people. I don't know. Could be from there. Never really got a full time job as a bartender though, and it's been a long time now, so I don't think I'd remember the majority of the complex drinks. But it was a good time. It was a good time in my life. Thanks for the compliment. Hollow Nano, do you believe in God? The description says ask about the universe. Does it? I don't know what my description says. Um, hmm. Well, since you asked, I happen to be an atheist. I don't believe. I was raised Christian, and I went to church. And later in life, I was on my own studying comparative religions. Not like in school, just like I was reading, the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, Bada Vista, and I started going like, they're all so sure that theirs is the right religion. Uh, where's the evidence? And I just felt like there wasn't any to my satisfaction. So if somebody else is religious, that's fine. I'm not going to tell them what to do, what to believe. They could be right for all I know. Any religion could be right for all I know. But personally, I haven't seen the evidence that would convince me. I hope that's fair. I hope that's understandable. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone else, but I think that's something that everybody has to sort of come to terms with on their own when they're an adult. My cat decided to jump up here. It still says Inktober too. Oh, I'll change that. Thanks, Hello Nino. Oops. Thanks, Average Comic Book Channel. Didn't realize that I left that description in there. I'll have to update that. I'm a Christian, but I understand your point. Well, I mean, I was a Christian too, so I understand. Hi, Geek Workshop. So this is my cat Milo. I guess he wanted to be the star. Milo, you want to say hello to everybody? You got some light here? Here. Isn't he handsome? Nah. There's my buddy. I think he's trying to tell me that I've been working for a long time and I need to take a break. He might be right. I don't know, bud. This is my kitty. And he's an artist too. Look at that. Oh, you holding a pen? He's so cute. He is cute. He's very shy with strangers, but he's very affectionate with me and my fiance and my other kitty that I raised him with. They cuddle together on their kitty condo together all day. That's Milo. All right, folks, I think I'm going to clean this up by erasing my pencil lines, and I'm going to mail this out to my friend Paul. That's his birthday present. So yeah, I drew Storm Shadow, one of his favorite characters. That was his specific request, and that's what I came up with. I kind of like what happened with the tree. I think that the tree bark looks pretty good. I even like some of this stuff. I think the overall pose is good, but this black here isn't really balanced out anywhere else in the costume, so that's problematic. That doesn't look too good. I may rework this a little bit before I mail it out. Congrats on 2,500 subs. Thank you, Average Comic Book Channel. That's kind of you. Hollow Nano says he likes it. So, cool. I'm glad. All right. And I found my Switch. So, today is a good day. I am going to go charge this thing up and potentially get the new Mario game since I've been looking for that thing for a month. Yeah. Well, it was fun sitting down and drawing, and I had a good conversation with all of y'all. I really appreciate that. So I hope everybody's doing well. I'll try to do some more of these. Not sure what kind of regular schedule I can get on yet, but I've just sort of told myself that whenever I feel like drawing, I'm just going to live stream it from now on, even if nobody's here and it's a weird time. I mean, this is kind of late at night on a school night or work night, but no, Average Comic Book Channel. I'm still looking for a new job. Don't have one. Mark Barner says, my birthday is May 17th and I love the Hulk. Well, if you've done as much for me as my friend Paul has done for me, we'll have a conversation. Paul runs the website, therobotspajamas.com, and if you ever go there, I have been published many, many times. He's published all sorts of comic books that I've drawn, or comic strips, I should say, and a lot of articles about nerdy stuff. So Paul has done a lot for me. So I don't have money to buy him a present, but I decided I could at least try to draw him something. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it. And hopefully I'm back on pretty soon. Until then, keep reading comics.